Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is bout number 9 on this evening's programme. A championship contest of 6 rounds to decide the destination of the vacant World Sports Organisation Intercontinental Middleweight title. Would you please welcome firstly, boxing, out of the blue corner representing Stannard's Gym from Sutton, Shaun Alexander! And across the ring, boxing at the red corner from Donegal, but now based in Greenford. Please give it up for John O'Hallahan. 6 rounds of championship boxing, and your timekeeper once again is the lovely James.
Here we go now, it's the Donegal boy, Johnny Hallahan versus Shaun Alexander. I was very impressed with Hallahan when I saw him box for his WSO debut in Oceania, Kingston. He's now based in Greenford, but very much a Southern Irish boy, even though it's just across the border. And like you said before to me, Floyd, it's always a sign of a decent fighter that can control the ring and cut down the spaces.
And that's what he's doing. You can always tell, but it's the way he moves, his lateral movements, you know, he's quite a confident fighter.
Well, there's talk of a match between him and John Brennan for an Intercontinental Championship. Of course, we saw Brennan earlier on perform quite impressively against Mo Holloway to snatch the British title. I'll ask you in a couple of rounds how you might see that one going. At the moment, you know, it's the first time he's seen the Hallahan, but he obviously knows what he's doing.
It'd be an interesting fight.
Of course, Shaun Alexander here, he's under pressure. But he's holding his own at the moment. He doesn't look too phased. He held on quite nicely there. I like to see that because it shows a bit of experience on behalf of Alexander there. Well, not too much happened in that first round. I'm going to give it to Hallahan quite easily. He looked the more balanced fighter, but Shaun Alexander seemed to know what he was doing. Last time out, Hallahan boxed an Irish Luton boy, Traveller from Luton, and he boxed competent. He seems a competent all-round performer, doesn't he, Floyd? As far as you see.
Yes. It's from the time that he's walking in to the time he's in prior to the start of the round, and you can see that he uses his confidence, and that's what makes a big difference between winning and losing. You know, I'd like to see a little bit more of him, you know, because I actually think he's quite a confident fighter.
Well, he is, and I think they're going to build up a fight with Brennan, and I think that would be a cracker. Both boys getting some good experiences now. And of course, these titles do come at an early stage in his career, but you know what? They're equivalent, really, to 6-round contests in the pro ranks, really. Nice shot from Shaun Alexander. It caught Hallahan in the body in that floating area. I think he felt that a little bit, O'Hallahan, but he's coming forward again. course, Welsh, Scottish and Irish boxing has had great pedigrees, and pound for pound and population, the Celtic nations have produced greater champions than England. That's a fact of life. But it's been, since some years, since the great Steve Collins, that Ireland's really produced, isn't it, Floyd?
Yes, time will prosperous. I was actually with Steve recently. It was actually down in Lithuania. But yes, it's they're not producing them as they did years ago. So
no, they're not. And again, it's all down to the coaching, but I think the coaching's in place in Ireland. But of course, there's not many shows and not many opportunities for boys to start to hone their. I think Alexander's putting out quite a decent fight here, isn't he?
Yes, he's probably looked at that. If I'm going to win anything here, I've got to go forward. I've got to start throwing punches,
and he's doing it.
Yes.
A nice body shot there, nice right hook there from O'Halloran. Just showed his class a little bit, and I think Alexander felt that one. But to be fair to Alexander, he's not turning his head. He's keeping his gloves up. He's competing.
Yes, it's.
I don't think he's a puncher, O'Halloran.
No. That's what you tend to find.
What is it with all these punches? I mean, I could name a string of them, but they all seem to go down as well, don't they?
It's over the years people have asked me, said, how do you produce a punch like that? For me, it's all about balance and speed. It's always been for me. But
of course, the sport's thrown up so many great debates. Why do punches go down? Can you make someone who can't punch harder? Can you put muscles on chins? I mean, can you? There's so many endless debates, and yet never any definitive answers, and that what makes the sport of boxing so unpredictable, as Don King said. Now, going into the third round here, and it's Shaun Alexander putting up quite a decent showing against a very, very competent Irish boy, John O'Halloran, who's based in Greenford, but originally out of Donegal, and obviously by his shorts he's very Irish. And it's it's a decent fight, this one. And in fact, the fact that Steve Holdsworth has had very little to do would say that both boys are boxing quite cleanly, aren't they, Floyd?
Yes, yeah. It's, I wonder what's so nice at the start of the fight is that they had respect for each other, where too much hype comes into the sport now, and it gets bitter before the fight starts, which is part and parcel of it. But to actually see these two boxers actually having respect for each other and acknowledging, that there was going to be a good fight in front of them.
Well, that's exactly right. It is nice in pro boxing and semi-pro boxing. There is this tremendous hype element which has its place in the sport and sometimes can be very entertaining. But in this particular contest, it is nice to see that both opponents have got great respect for each other. Fights being fought cleanly, quite competitively, and there's a little bit of decent boxing going on.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Nice jab from O'Halloran. It caught Alexander fairly cleanly, and he's really catching him with some nice clean shots. But like I said, he's not a puncher, O'Halloran, but he's got some decent qualities, and he's obviously must have had a decent amateur record, I would have thought.
And as you can see that his hands are up, and it's.
Of course, in your record you were 36-2, and obviously you have many stoppages on your record, and yet the fights you were stopped by the great John Molina in a great fight late on. We know the reasons for that. So really, in your particular case, you could take a shot, of course, and also give one.
Yes, it's that's what makes a champion. It's pointless just being able to give it when you're not able to take it. But I've seen so many great fighters actually having wars in the gym, and I was one of the lucky ones that I was schooled enough to know that after boxing, it's you retire, and it's all about you got to have a thinking brain, and that's lucky enough that I did. Well, hit them and don't get it yourself.
Well, absolutely, and of course that's something that the schooling came out in you there, and you were very well schooled, and a lot of fighters don't realise those basic ethics because they don't have the schooling. But I actually think these two boys, both of them, including Alexander, obviously train hard. They do work hard. I can clearly see they've got some knowledge, and in a semi-pro environment, I think it's nice to see. And that's nice from Alexander. He's trying to fight on the inside, landing some couple of body shots there. And again, Floyd's fitness level's quite reasonable, I think. Here.
Yes, it's the last thing you want to have is actually been in there on the day of the fight and say to yourself, have I done enough road work? Have I done enough training? It's too late then, so it's and they're not blowing much when they're going back to the corner, so they've obviously been training hard.
No, they've obviously been training hard. Of course, I once managed Mark Baker, who was formerly a WBF and British light heavyweight champion. He spent most of the last few weeks before fights just getting his weight down. And that's been the case with many fighters. The issue of weight is an absolute critical issue, and I never understand it when some fighters do have these weight problems. But even at the very top level with the likes of Baker and further up with Ricky Hatton, it does happen, doesn't it?
Yes, of course. And the strangest thing for me was boxing Marina in Cardiff, and in 30 hours he put on 24 pounds.
Did he?
Yes, and I was actually seeing a different fighter coming in the ring the following day.
Well, it does raise a controversy over these day before weigh-ins, of course, and that must have been slightly debilitating for you when he weighed in at one weight. 24 hours later, he's a couple of weights up.
That's correct, and it's just quite intimidating, but. Taking nothing away from him, he was a great fighter and probably one of the best fighters to grace this country. But he was very special.
There we go, the penultimate round. Decent little contest between John O'Halloran from Dublin by way of Greenford in Middlesex, fighting the local boy Shaun Alexander, who's really given O'Halloran a good fight. But I think O'Halloran caught him with a couple of decent shots. He's stepping it up, forcing Alexander to hold on, which he's doing.
I think the cleaner shots have come from him, so it's.
Oh, definitely, yes. The cleaner shots have come from the Irish boy, and I think he's heading for a points win. But Alexander showed up well. And certainly, his fitness levels and boxing confidence can't be questioned. So are you travelling back to Wales tonight, or are you staying over?
No, we're going to stay up tonight. bit far to go back tonight, so we'll stay in the travel lodge tonight now.
Yeah, it is that extra 50-80 miles to Swansea, isn't it? I've done that trip many times.
Yeah, it's a good old trek, but I've enjoyed tonight. You know, it's been.
No, it's been a decent show, and as I said, these two, Alexander digging in a nice few body shots there, keeping the Donegal boy at bay. Little flurry after the bell from Alexander, but I don't think it was meant maliciously.
No.
In fact, there's been no malice at all in this fight, just fairly clean boxing and decent fitness on part of both boys.
That's right.
Much in contrast to a couple of the other fights earlier in the evening.
Yes, that's right.
Well, as we speak, I'm looking through Floyd Havard's record, and there's some very decent names and scouts on that record. But we're into the final round now of the fight between John O'Halloran from Donegal against Shaun Alexander, and I think O'Halloran clearly ahead after the first 5 rounds. I think it would really take a knockout from Shaun Alexander, but I don't see that coming, Floyd.
No, he's actually picked every round, so he's that's all he needs to do is be safe and just keep out of distance, and you know.
Well, that's what he's got to do. But in fairness to Alexander, he's a decent and gutsy competitor, and he's trying to take it now to a little bit to the Donegal man, because he's been told by his corner he's got to step it up.
I think that's the only way that he's going to come up with a win.
Well, they're the same weight, O'Halloran and John Brennan, who boxed earlier to win the British title, and now you've watched it for nearly 6 rounds. How do you think, there's a mooted match between them down the line, how do you think that one might go?
I think it'll be a very good, entertaining fight. I just feel that because they throw punches and throw shots, I think it's not going to be. It'll be an interesting fight. You know,
I think both boys can box and have got tremendous balance, and they know what they're doing. But I think it actually turned into quite a slugfest. Actually,
you always find that. What turns out to be a very sloppy fight will actually turn into
a big one. Yeah. Well, that's the end of the fight, and quite a pleasing contest, that one, actually.
Yes, we've only got one winner, so...
One winner, and that's almost... I'd be extremely surprised if Steve Holsworth held up Shaun Alexander's hand, but it's nice to see...
Please show your appreciation. 2 decent lads there, John O'Halloran and Shaun Alexander. Thank you, boys. I was on to present the belt. Do it myself. Right. Boxers, please.
Steve. Steve, Floyd.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Yes, what a very good idea. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the ring to present the championship belt, the former British and European feather and super featherweight champion, Floyd Havard, all the way from Swansea. Right, John, please. Shaun, please. Right, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 6 hard-fought rounds of boxing, I've scored the contest 59 points to 56 to your winner and a new WSO Intercontinental Middleweight Champion, John O'Halloran. Come on, John. And please show your appreciation, Shaun Alexander. And of course, to present the championship belt to John, Floyd Howard. Great boxing legend. Thank you, Floyd. Well, John.
Well, it's one of the greatest boxers this country's ever produced, which is my colour commentator, which is the great Floyd Howard, who's presenting the belt to John O'Halloran in a very pleasing contest for the WSO Intercontinental title.
Said he wants to fight John Brennan. Where are you, John Brennan? Is John still here? Well, we'll see if we can get that one made in the future, Joey. February, brilliant. Thank you.
John O'Halloran has called out.
Once again, as it leaves the ring.
He's called out John Brennan, as we were discussing that before, and that's going to be a terrific contest for February.